I had always thought that I knew my wife. At least, that's what I told myself every time I ignored the little signs. The eye rolls, the snide remarks when she thought I wasn't paying attention, the way her smile faltered just a little when she saw me walk into a room. But it wasn't until that one dinner, the one that changed everything, that I saw the truth. It wasn't supposed to be anything special, just a casual dinner with her family, nothing extravagant. But I've come to realize that nothing with Marissa is ever just casual. Not anymore. That evening started like any other. Her parents, her two brothers, and a few family friends were all seated around our dining table, laughing and chatting like everything was normal. It was supposed to be a celebration. Her promotion at work. Something that, under any other circumstances, I would have been genuinely proud of. But that night, I could feel it. The tension in the air. I could sense the shift in the way she looked at me. It wasn't subtle. Her eyes flicked to me every time I reached for something. Every time I spoke to her parents. I could tell she was waiting for me to make a mistake, to do something that would give her an excuse to say what she'd been holding back for weeks. I didn't know it then, but I was walking into a trap. As the conversation shifted to a more personal topic, something about aging gracefully in a world obsessed with youth, I saw Marissa's lips curve into that familiar, sarcastic smile. I braced myself, knowing what was coming next. But nothing could prepare me for what she said. "You know," she began, her voice just loud enough for the table to hear. "I keep telling my husband that he needs to start hitting the gym more. It's like he's just given up, you know? All he does is sit around, eat junk food, and then complain about how much he's gained." She let out a laugh, a little too loud, a little too sharp. I froze. The entire table fell quiet for a moment. The air felt thick. I could feel the weight of everyone's eyes on me. Her father cleared his throat, uncomfortable, but her brother snickered, looking at me with a mixture of pity and amusement. I could feel the burn in my cheeks as I tried to swallow the lump in my throat. I wanted to laugh it off, like I always did when she poked fun at me. But this time, something was different. I looked over at Marissa, her eyes bright with amusement, waiting for me to react. She was watching me with that smug, satisfied expression that she wore whenever she knew she'd gotten under my skin. The truth was, it wasn't just the comment that hurt. It was the fact that she did it in front of her family. That she wasn't just mocking me, but humiliating me. I forced a smile, trying to play it cool. "Yeah, I guess I've been slacking a little," I said, my voice tight. "Maybe I'll start a diet next week." Her smile grew wider. "A diet? Well, we've heard that one before. You said that last month, and we both know how that went." She laughed again, and this time it wasn't a friendly laugh. It was a jab, a dig, and that's when it hit me. This wasn't just a joke. This wasn't just her being playful. She had been doing this for months. Every time we were around her family, she'd make little comments like this. About my weight, about my clothes, about how lazy I was. Every time, I let it slide. Because I thought it was no big deal. Because I didn't want to make waves. But this time, this dinner, something in me snapped. I could feel the anger boiling inside me, the heat rising to my face. I wasn't going to sit there and let her tear me down anymore. "Yeah, maybe I've gained a few pounds," I said, my voice steady, but my eyes locked on hers. "But at least I don't have to wear a mask to look good." The room went completely silent. I could hear the faint hum of the refrigerator in the background, the sound of someone's fork clinking against their plate. Marissa's face changed instantly, her smile faltering for the first time that night. Her eyes widened, and I could see her jaw tighten. For a second, I thought I might have gone too far. But I knew I hadn't. I had just started to reveal the truth. The truth she'd been hiding from me, and from everyone else, for months. I waited for her to say something, for her to snap back at me, but she didn't. She sat there, stunned, her face a mask of confusion and anger. The rest of the table, though, was suddenly very interested in their food. I took a deep breath and leaned forward. "You know, it's funny," I continued, my voice calm, but the words cutting through the silence. "You've been so busy mocking me for my appearance, but I've seen the pictures on your phone. The ones of you and him." The shock in her face was almost enough to make me second-guess myself. Almost. But I didn't stop. "You've been spending more time with him than with me lately. I've noticed. I know what you've been doing behind my back, Marissa." Her eyes darted around the table, looking for something to hold on to, but there was nowhere to hide. She didn't have the words to defend herself, not in that moment. And for the first time in years, I saw fear in her eyes. Her family was silent, looking between the two of us, unsure of what to do. Marissa's brother shifted in his seat, his gaze flicking from her to me, clearly uncomfortable. Her parents exchanged glances, but no one said a word. Finally, Marissa spoke, her voice shaky, her usual confidence crumbling. "What are you talking about?" she stammered. "What pictures? What are you even saying?" But I didn't back down. "You think I didn't notice? You think I didn't see the messages? The way you've been hiding him from me? You can't fool me anymore, Marissa." For the first time in years, I wasn't the guy who just sat back and took it. I wasn't the guy who let her control the room. I had seen the cracks in her facade, and now I was exposing them. And as her face turned pale, as her carefully constructed world began to unravel, I realized that this dinner wasn't about food. It was about me finally seeing the truth about her, and about myself. I could see her fumbling for words, the usual mask of confidence slowly slipping away. Her eyes darted around the table, but no one said a word. It was like time had frozen for a moment, and all that was left was the raw, exposed truth hanging in the air. Marissa, the woman I thought I knew, who I'd trusted, loved, was now standing there, caught in her own lies. "Don't try to act like you don't know what I'm talking about," I continued, trying to keep my voice steady despite the adrenaline pumping through my veins. "I've seen the texts, the photos, the late-night calls. You've been lying to me for months, and I've been too blind to see it." She looked at me with wide eyes, and for the first time, she didn't seem so sure of herself. I could hear her breathing faster, the facade cracking right before my eyes. "What are you talking about?" Her voice was almost a whisper now, defensive, desperate. I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. I wasn't going to let this go. Not now. Not when everything I had been ignoring for so long was finally coming to light. "You think I didn't notice? You think I didn't see the way you've been sneaking around behind my back? You've been meeting him, haven't you?" Marissa's face paled. The color drained from her cheeks as the realization hit her. "I don't know what you're," she began, but I cut her off. "Don't lie to me, Marissa." I snapped, my voice now filled with a mix of anger and disbelief. "I know everything. All those dinners, those work meetings that I never got invited to. You were with him, and I was stupid enough to believe your excuses." The room was tense now, everyone too afraid to speak. Her parents, usually so outspoken, sat frozen in their seats, exchanging nervous glances. Her brother didn't even try to hide his discomfort. I didn't care about them anymore. This wasn't about them. This was about me. About what I had let slip through my fingers for so long. Marissa opened her mouth, trying to formulate an excuse, but I could see the doubt in her eyes. It was too late for her to deny it now. The truth was out, and I wasn't about to let her twist it. "You've been having an affair, haven't you?" I asked, my voice low but cutting. There was no turning back now. Her face contorted with a mixture of anger and shame, but she didn't deny it. Instead, she took a step back, her hand trembling as she reached for her phone on the table. "You have no idea what you're talking about," she muttered, her voice shaky. "You don't understand anything." "Then make me understand." I shot back, my eyes burning with the need to hear the truth from her lips. "Tell me everything, Marissa. How long has it been going on? How many times have you lied to my face?" She hesitated, her eyes shifting nervously between me and the others at the table. The tension was unbearable. Finally, she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's not what you think, okay? I never meant for it to happen. It just did." I waited, my patience wearing thin, but she wasn't ready to come clean just yet. Instead, she shot me a pleading look, as if trying to manipulate me into feeling sorry for her. But I wasn't falling for it. Not anymore. "I want to hear it all," I said, my voice steely. "No more lies, no more excuses. I want the truth." Her eyes flickered with something, guilt, fear, maybe even regret, but she didn't give in right away. It was clear she wasn't ready to lose her grip on the situation, even as the truth loomed over us. I could feel my chest tightening with frustration. I had to hear it from her. I had to know how deep this betrayal really went. How long had I been living in the dark, trusting someone who had been lying to me the entire time? Finally, she sighed, defeated. "Fine," she said, almost as if she were giving in. "It started about 6 months ago. After the promotion, I wasn't getting the attention I wanted from you. I was frustrated, and he was there. He listened to me. He made me feel important." Her voice cracked at the last part, and I could see the tears welling up in her eyes. But I wasn't moved. Not yet. You're telling me you had an affair because I wasn't listening to you? I asked, incredulous. You think that justifies everything you've done? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. She had no defense for what she had done. No justification that could make this okay. And at that moment, something shifted inside me. This wasn't just about the affair. It wasn't just about her betrayal. It was about how much I had ignored. How much I had allowed her to walk all over me. To control me with her charm and her beauty, while she secretly destroyed everything we had built together. But I still needed to know one thing. Who is he, Marissa? I asked, my voice low but firm. Who have you been seeing behind my back? She hesitated, her eyes darting around the table again, as if she expected someone to step in and save her. But no one did. They were all too afraid to speak. She was cornered. You don't know him, she finally said, almost defensively. He's just someone from work. It didn't mean anything. But I wasn't buying it. His name, Marissa, I said, stepping closer to her. Tell me his name. The room was deathly silent as she finally gave in, her voice barely above a whisper. Derek. His name is Derek. I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. Derek. One of her colleagues, someone I had never met, but who had been the one to take what I had given her so freely. The man who had made her feel special when I was too busy to notice. I stood there for a moment, taking it all in. This wasn't just about an affair. This was about everything she had taken from me, everything she had hidden behind the lies and the smiles. And now, she was exposed. But the story wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The air in the room was thick with tension. Marissa stood there, her hand shaking as she clutched her phone, avoiding eye contact with me. I could see her mind racing, her lips trembling as if trying to come up with some last-ditch excuse. But the truth was out, and nothing she could say would change what I now knew. Derek. I repeated, the name tasting bitter on my tongue. It was a name I had never heard before, yet somehow it felt all too familiar now. He was the one who had been there for her, the one she had turned to when I wasn't looking. The thought made my chest tighten with anger and betrayal. She looked up at me, her eyes still holding a mix of defiance and fear. I never meant for it to happen, okay? It was just one night, and it meant nothing. I shook my head, unable to process what I was hearing. One night. I repeated, my voice barely a whisper. You're telling me it was just one night? Is that supposed to make it better? Her face crumbled as she stepped back, clearly realizing she wasn't going to get away with minimizing this. It wasn't just one night, okay? But that doesn't mean what we had didn't matter. You were distant, and I needed someone to talk to. Derek was there. He listened. And I guess. She trailed off, her words faltering as if she was suddenly unsure of how to spin the story. I couldn't even look at her anymore. I turned away and paced across the room, trying to control the rush of emotions flooding through me. Anger, hurt, confusion. All of it was swirling inside me, and I didn't know how to deal with it. How long has this been going on? I asked, my voice barely more than a whisper. I wasn't sure if I even wanted to know the answer, but I had to ask. I had to know the extent of the betrayal. Her silence was the answer I needed. It had been going on for months, maybe longer. All those nights when she'd stayed late at work, all those girls' nights that didn't quite add up. I had been so blind, so wrapped up in my own insecurities, I hadn't seen it. Marissa let out a sigh and finally dropped her phone onto the couch, sitting down. I didn't want to hurt you, she said, her voice small, almost pleading. I swear, I never meant for any of this to happen. I turned to face her, the weight of everything hitting me like a ton of bricks. But you did. You chose him over me. You chose to lie to my face, over and over again. She looked down at her hands, her shoulders sagging. I know, and I regret it, okay? I do. But you don't get it. You were never there. Not the way I needed you. Her words cut deeper than any of her previous jabs. She had always been good at twisting things, but this time, she had gone too far. I had tried to be the good husband, to be there for her when she needed me. But apparently, that wasn't enough. Is that it then? I asked, my voice low. You just needed someone to listen? Someone to make you feel important? I let out a bitter laugh. Well, I guess Derek did a better job at that than I ever did. Marissa's eyes flashed with something. Guilt, maybe, or regret, but she didn't speak. The silence between us stretched, thick and suffocating. I could feel the weight of the years we'd spent together slipping away, replaced by a cold, uncomfortable truth. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. You don't get it, Marissa. You think this is something we can just brush off? You've been living a lie, and I've been too naive to see it. Her face flushed, and she finally stood up, taking a step toward me. I never wanted to hurt you, she repeated, her voice breaking. I swear, I thought I could make it work. But you were always so distant. You never noticed when something was wrong. You didn't see how much I was struggling. I didn't know what to say. For years, I had seen her as the strong one, the confident one, the one who had it all together while I quietly stood by her side. Maybe I had taken her for granted. Maybe I had been too caught up in my own world to notice when she was slipping away. But none of that changed the fact that she had made the choice to cheat. I was always there, Marissa, I said, my voice calm but full of emotion. I may not have been perfect, but I was here. And you chose to turn away from me, to turn to him. That's not something I can just forget. She stepped closer, reaching out for me, but I took a step back, shaking my head. Don't try to make this about you. This is about you, and the fact that you've been lying to me for months. Her face twisted in frustration, tears now streaming down her cheeks. I'm sorry, she whispered. I never meant for it to get this far. I stood there, watching her, the silence between us deafening. The woman I thought I knew, the woman I thought I had loved, had been hiding so much from me. All this time, she had been wearing a mask, pretending everything was fine, while behind the scenes, she was living a completely different life. I wanted to feel sorry for her. I wanted to believe that she was truly sorry. But I couldn't. The damage was done, and no amount of regret could fix what had been broken. And then, something unexpected happened. Marissa looked up at me, her face streaked with tears, and for the first time in a long time, I saw vulnerability in her eyes. I don't know how to fix this, she admitted, her voice raw. I don't know how to fix what I've broken. I took a deep breath, the anger now replaced by something else, something much more dangerous. No, I said slowly, my voice hard. You can't fix it. Not anymore. And just like that, the truth hit me with full force. Everything we had was gone, shattered in a single moment. The years of trust, the love we had shared, it was all gone. And now, I had to make a choice. I stared at her, my mind racing. The room felt colder now, the weight of her confession hanging heavily in the air. I could see her trying to gather herself, but the facade was crumbling faster than she could repair it. The woman I once admired was now standing in front of me, broken and exposed, and somehow, I felt emptier than I ever had before. You can't fix this, I repeated, my voice sharper now, filled with a quiet finality. You've made your choice, Marissa, and it's not something you can undo just because you're sorry now. Her lips trembled, and for a moment, I thought she might collapse under the weight of it all. But she didn't. She stood there, face flushed, eyes wide with panic. She opened her mouth, as if to say something, but nothing came out. Instead, she just stared at me, waiting, hoping that somehow, I would take her back. But I couldn't. Not after everything. You need to leave, I said, my voice low but steady. Her eyes widened in disbelief. What? She whispered, as if she couldn't believe what she was hearing. You can't be serious. You're really going to throw everything away? Everything, I echoed, the anger welling up inside me again. What exactly did we have left, Marissa? After everything you've done, everything you've hidden from me, what's left for us? She opened her mouth to respond, but the words didn't come. She couldn't explain it away. There was no excuse that would make what she had done okay. You're right, she finally muttered, almost too quietly for me to hear. I don't deserve you. I blinked, taken aback by her admission. But the shock didn't last. I had already made my decision. No, you don't. You never did. The words felt like they were tearing through me as much as they were tearing through her. But I couldn't stop them. She had crossed a line, and I had to hold my ground, even if every part of me wanted to scream or break down. She stood there, her shoulders slumped, tears welling up in her eyes, but she didn't say anything more. Instead, she slowly turned, walking toward the door. I didn't stop her, but just before she left, she turned back to look at me, her voice barely above a whisper. I'm sorry for everything. I nodded once, not trusting myself to speak. She left without another word, the sound of the door clicking shut echoing in my ears. I stood there for a moment, frozen in place. My mind was a blur. Too many emotions fighting for control. Anger, sadness, disbelief. But through it all, there was one thing I knew for sure. This was the end. I sank down onto the couch, my head in my hands, trying to process what had just happened. It felt surreal, like everything had unraveled so quickly, and I was left standing at the center of it, trying to piece together the broken fragments of my life. And yet, as painful as it was, I felt something else bubbling up inside me. Relief. The truth had finally come out. The weight I'd been carrying for months, hell, for years, was gone. But that relief didn't last long. There was something else I had to do now. Something I hadn't planned for. Something I didn't know I was capable of. I was done being the fool. Done being the one left behind, watching from the sidelines while she made her choices. And as the night stretched on, I realized that I wasn't just done with her. I was done with all of it. The phone buzzed on the coffee table, breaking the silence. I glanced at it, and for the first time, I felt a surge of determination instead of dread. It was a message from him. Derek, the man who had stolen what I thought was mine. I didn't hesitate. I grabbed the phone and unlocked it. Time to deal with this once and for all. The phone buzzed again, louder this time, as if it were taunting me. My fingers hovered over the screen, shaking slightly from the adrenaline rushing through my veins. Derek, the man who had taken everything from me. I felt a strange mix of anger and satisfaction as I opened the message. It was brief. A simple text, as if he had no idea what was happening. Hope you're okay. I'll be seeing Marissa tomorrow, right? I read the message a few times, my mind racing. It was so casual, so careless, as if he had no idea that his little world was about to come crashing down. He was just living his life, unaware that I knew everything. That Marissa had confessed, that everything they'd hidden was out in the open. I couldn't help but smile. There was something oddly satisfying about this. But it wasn't enough just to leave it at a text message. I needed more. I needed him to understand. I needed him to know the full extent of what he had done. I typed quickly, my fingers moving faster than I thought possible. You'll be seeing Marissa tomorrow, all right? But not the way you think. I paused for a moment, staring at the screen, my heart pounding. For the first time in months, I wasn't second-guessing myself. I wasn't worried about being too harsh. This wasn't just about Marissa anymore. It was about me taking control. I hit send. Almost immediately, the phone buzzed again. Derek's response was quick, probably not expecting such a cryptic reply. What do you mean by that? I didn't answer right away. I leaned back in my chair, taking a deep breath, letting the anticipation build. Part of me wondered if I should just go to bed, let it all go. But I knew I wouldn't be able to sleep. Not with everything hanging in the balance like this. I decided to take the plunge. I couldn't let him off easy. He needed to know exactly what he had done. You've been seeing my wife. Behind my back. All this time. The text sat on the screen for a moment, and I couldn't help but feel a little rush of power. He would have no idea how to respond. I could already imagine the shock on his face when he read it. Seconds passed. Then minutes. Still no response. I was about to put my phone down when it buzzed again. What the hell are you talking about? It wasn't the calm, confident reply I'd expected. It was panic, confusion. This was the moment where everything shifted. I was no longer the victim. No longer the one left in the dark. I know everything, Derek. The secret meetings, the late-night texts, all of it. And Marissa? She's gone. She's left me. I let that sink in. I knew what was coming next. The excuses, the denial. He would try to make it sound like it was nothing, that it didn't mean anything. But I wasn't going to let him off that easy. I waited. And then, the inevitable happened. Wait, she left you? Are you sure about that? The tone was almost accusatory, like he was trying to flip the situation back on me. She's gone, Derek. And guess what? It's because of you. I could almost hear his breath catch on the other side of the screen. The silence was deafening. Then, just when I thought he might backpedal, he finally replied. I didn't want to hurt you, man. You have no idea how complicated it was. I laughed bitterly. Complicated? Really? He had no idea how insulting that sounded, coming from someone who had clearly been enjoying the affair without a care in the world. Complicated? You've been sleeping with my wife for months, and you call it complicated? Don't try to make it sound like you had any good intentions. I could feel the anger rising again, but I couldn't stop. There was something almost therapeutic about it. He had thought he could get away with it. He had thought that he was untouchable. His response came quickly this time. Look, I didn't want this to blow up in your face. But you don't understand what it was like between us. Marissa, She told me things. She needed someone to talk to lean on. You were always busy with work or whatever. I couldn't believe what I was reading. He was justifying it, trying to make it sound like he was the victim here. Oh, so now you're the savior? I typed, my fingers almost flying over the keys. You think she came to you because I wasn't there? No, Derek. She came to you because you're exactly what she wanted. Someone who would make her feel better about herself. Someone who would tell her she was important. You were just a temporary fix for her ego. I knew the words would hurt. I knew they would cut deep, but I didn't care anymore. There was a long pause before his next message popped up. I never meant for it to get this far. I didn't want to hurt you. It was too late for that. You did, Derek. And now, you're going to deal with the consequences. I stared at the phone, my heart pounding in my chest. This wasn't just about Marissa anymore. It was about me. About reclaiming the power I'd lost. About showing him that he couldn't just walk away from this. And when the message finally came through, I knew it was only the beginning. The message sat on the screen, hanging there like an unwanted truth. Derek had finally written back, his words trembling with the kind of desperation I hadn't expected. Please, don't do this. I never wanted to hurt you. For a second, I considered responding with something calm, something that might settle the storm inside me. But then I thought about it. Thought about everything I'd been through, everything I'd ignored, all the lies and the betrayal. And suddenly, the calm response felt like weakness. You hurt me the moment you decided to get involved with her. I typed, my fingers pounding the screen. And don't pretend this was just about her needing someone. You're as guilty as she is. I could feel my heartbeat in my ears, the anger still simmering beneath the surface. Derek wasn't the only one who had crossed a line. Marissa had, too. They had both played me for a fool. There was a long pause before he replied, almost as if he was trying to figure out what to say next. Look, I get it. I screwed up. But this doesn't have to end like this. We can fix this, okay? Fix this. The audacity. He thought this could be fixed? After everything? I stared at the screen, blinking, trying to make sense of his words. No, Derek. This isn't something that can be fixed. It's over. Marissa made her choice. You both did. Another long pause. I could tell he was typing, backspacing, then typing again. His next message was different, almost resigned. You don't have to do anything rash. I didn't mean for it to blow up like this. I thought it was just a fling, just a mistake. A mistake. That's what it all was to him. A mistake. But this wasn't just about a mistake anymore. This was about trust. About everything that had been torn apart. A mistake? I typed back, my anger now fully coursing through me. You think it was just a fling? You think you're the only one who screwed up? You don't get it, Derek. This was my life you were messing with. I stared at the message for a few seconds, then hit send. I had to let him know. Let him feel what I was feeling, even if only for a moment. He responded quickly, but his tone was different now, almost defensive. I didn't ask for this, all right? Marissa, she told me you weren't there for her, that things between you two weren't working. I couldn't believe what I was reading. She had said that? I knew our relationship had been struggling, but to hear that she had spun it like that to him made me see her in an entirely new light. So now you're playing the victim too? I fired back. Is that what this is? You're both blaming me for your choices? There was a moment of silence, and then another message came through. This one was different. He wasn't trying to justify himself anymore. I'm sorry, man. I really am. This has gotten way out of hand. I could feel the frustration boiling up inside me, but I kept typing. It's too late for apologies, Derek. You can't just say sorry and expect everything to go back to normal. I stared at the screen for a long time, waiting for his reply. I knew what he wanted. He wanted me to forgive him. He wanted me to let it go, to forget what he had done. But there was no going back. The damage had already been done. He texted again, this time with more hesitation. I didn't mean for things to go this far. I never wanted to hurt you. Please, let me make it right. I scoffed aloud. The nerve. You can't make it right, Derek. What you've done is unforgivable. The silence that followed felt suffocating. It was as if both of us were holding our breath, waiting for something that would change everything. And then, in a moment of clarity, I realized that I had already decided. I had made my choice. I think it's time for you to walk away. I sent the message, and then immediately put my phone down, as if to sever any remaining connection. I didn't need to hear his excuses anymore. I stood up, walked over to the window, and looked out into the night. There was a strange calm that settled over me, a sense of finality. I was done with all of it. Done with the lies, the deceit, the heartbreak. It was time to move on. And in the pit of my stomach, something else stirred. For the first time in a long time, I felt free. The next morning, I woke up with a strange sense of clarity. The phone was still on the table beside me, a quiet reminder of the chaos that had unfolded the night before. But it was more than that. It was a reminder of everything that had changed. Marissa was gone, and Derek had been exposed for what he truly was. But even though I knew the right decision had been made, there was a strange emptiness lingering inside me. I wasn't sure if it was the shock still settling in or the bitter taste of betrayal that wouldn't leave my mouth. I picked up the phone and checked for any new messages, half expecting something from Marissa. Maybe a desperate text saying she'd made a mistake, that she wanted to come back. But there was nothing from her. Only Derek's message, a single line, waiting for my reply. "I'm sorry. I hope you find peace." I stared at it for a long time. I should have been angry, but instead, I felt indifferent. This was it. This was the end. There was no going back. But then, as I scrolled through my contacts, something caught my eye. A name I hadn't noticed in months. Claire. She was a mutual friend of Marissa and me. We'd all hung out together a few times, and though I hadn't seen her much recently, she had always been kind to me. I clicked on her name out of habit, but when the message opened, I froze. "Hey, I think we need to talk. I know what happened last night. You should know that Marissa isn't just leaving you for Derek." My heart skipped a beat. I reread the message, trying to make sense of it. What did she mean? Was this another one of Marissa's games, or was there something I didn't know? "There's more you don't know, and I think you deserve to hear it. Call me when you get a chance." I felt the hairs on the back of my neck rise. Part of me didn't want to know. I had just exposed everything, uncovered the truth, and now I was faced with another mystery. But the curiosity got the better of me. I couldn't resist. I dialed her number, and after a few rings, Claire picked up. "Hey," she said, her voice low. "I'm sorry to call you like this, but you need to hear this." I felt the tension rise in my chest. "What's going on, Claire? What do you know?" She sighed heavily. "Look, I'm not saying this to hurt you, but you deserve the full picture. Marissa, she's been keeping something from you. Something bigger than just Derek." I waited, holding my breath, not knowing what to expect next. "Marissa has been having an affair with Derek, yes. But that's not the worst part." Her voice dropped even lower. "She's been planning to leave you for him. For a while now." I couldn't breathe. "What do you mean?" My voice barely sounded like mine. "Marissa never wanted to stay with you. She was only with you for the stability you gave her. The moment she found someone like Derek, someone who could offer her the excitement she craved, she was already halfway out the door." I felt a sick knot twist in my stomach. The lies, the deceit, everything I had thought was solid, was a lie. Claire wasn't done. "There's more. Marissa had been planning on telling you she was leaving for months. But she wanted it to look like your fault. She made sure you'd be the one who seemed distant, the one who didn't care enough." I felt the room spin around me. I had been a pawn in her game all along. It wasn't just an affair. It wasn't just Derek. It was her manipulating everything, twisting the story so she'd always be the victim. "Why are you telling me this?" I finally managed to ask. "Because I think you deserve to know the truth," Claire said. "And because, well, because I've seen how she's treated you. You deserve someone who actually cares about you, not just someone who's using you to get what she wants." I let her words sink in, feeling a mix of anger and heartbreak flood through me. I had been blind, trusting her, loving her, while she played me like a fool. "Thanks for telling me," I said, my voice quiet. "But I don't know what to do with this yet." "I get it," Claire said softly. "But I think it's time you finally let go." I hung up, my hands shaking as I placed the phone back on the table. For a moment, I just sat there, staring into space, trying to make sense of everything. Marissa hadn't just cheated on me. She had been planning this for months, orchestrating her exit, making sure I was the one who would look like the villain in the end. I didn't know what to do next. All I knew was that my world had shattered, and I was the last to know. But the one thing that Claire had said rang true. I needed to let go. For the first time, I wasn't sure if I was ready. But I knew one thing for sure. I had to find the strength to move on. Because the truth was, the woman I thought I knew was long gone. The days that followed felt like a blur. I was numb, processing everything that had happened, trying to make sense of the betrayal that had turned my world upside down. Marissa was gone. Derek was gone. And in the wreckage, there was only me, broken, but not defeated. It took time, but something within me began to shift. I realized that I had been living in the shadow of someone else's lies for far too long. Marissa had manipulated me, used me, and I had let it happen. But no more. I wasn't going to be the victim anymore. I wasn't going to let her have the last word. One evening, as I sat in my living room reflecting on the mess she had left behind, my phone buzzed again. It was a message from Claire. I heard Marissa is going back to Derek. She's trying to fix things, but I know it's all falling apart. She's got nothing left to hide now. You were right about everything. I stared at the message, a strange feeling bubbling up inside me. It wasn't just relief. It was something more powerful. Marissa had finally made her choice. She was going to Derek, and I could only imagine the mess she was walking into. It was her turn to face the consequences. I didn't respond to Claire. I didn't need to. I had already taken the necessary steps to ensure that Marissa's world would implode. Over the next week, I focused on rebuilding my own life, piece by piece. I threw myself into work, started exercising again, and reconnected with old friends I had neglected while I'd been wrapped up in the toxic web of my marriage. It felt good. It felt like freedom. For the first time in months, I was doing things for myself. Then, one night, I received a call. It was from a lawyer. "We've reviewed your case," the lawyer said. "You're entitled to a significant portion of the assets you shared with your ex-wife. Based on the evidence of her affair and the emotional distress you've documented, we're moving forward with the divorce proceedings." I let the words sink in. Marissa had thought she could just walk away from everything without facing the consequences. But now, she was going to pay for what she had done. And it wasn't just the money that mattered to me. It was the principle. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want to sink to her level. But she had crossed a line, and now she was going to see what it felt like to lose everything she had taken for granted. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of legal proceedings. Marissa tried to reach out to me once or twice, but I ignored her calls. I didn't need closure. I didn't need her to explain herself. The truth had already come out, and there was no going back. One evening, as I was walking out of a meeting, I bumped into Claire. She smiled warmly, her eyes filled with understanding. "I heard you're moving forward," she said, a slight hint of pride in her voice. I nodded. "I am. It's time to move on." There was a moment of silence before I spoke again. "And Marissa? What's she doing now?" Claire hesitated before answering. "She's trying to piece things together with Derek, but he's not exactly thrilled with her. He found out about the whole situation, about how she manipulated both of you, and he's not as forgiving as she hoped." I couldn't help but feel a small pang of satisfaction. Marissa had thought she could play the victim, manipulate everyone around her. But now, she was facing the truth, and it wasn't pretty. I smiled at Claire. Good. She deserves that. And with that, I realized I was finally free. Free from the lies, free from the manipulation. I had taken the hardest step of all, walking away from the woman I once thought I knew. But in the end, I was better for it. Stronger. Wiser. As the days turned into weeks, I rebuilt my life. I started dating again, not rushing, but opening myself up to the possibility of real love, something built on honesty, trust, and mutual respect. And Marissa? She learned the hard way that actions have consequences. She tried to patch things up with Derek, but he had already moved on. The relationship she had destroyed so easily could never be fixed. She had lost everything, and I had nothing left to give her. But me? I had gained everything. My freedom, my peace, and the knowledge that, in the end, life had a way of balancing things out. Karma had done its work, and I was finally able to live my life on my terms.